If you already own a water ionizer or you're looking to buy your first one, you may have an issue with your ionizer being on the counter next to your sink. You have a very small kitchen and you don't have very much counter space. Or perhaps you have a special spray head type of kitchen faucet and can't attach a diverter valve to the end of that faucet. In that case, you may be asking the question, can I install my water ionizer under the sink? So I'm going to answer that question today in this week's episode of Water Ionizer Wednesday. Hey guys, I'm Dean Snyder from Snyder Health, and each week I answer the most commonly asked questions about water ionizers that I get from my own customers. So that's the question for today. What can you do with your water ionizer when you can't put it on the counter? First, let's talk about the normal installation for a countertop water ionizer, and then I'll explain what you need to do to put it under the sink. Keep in mind that not every ionizer can be put under the sink. I'll explain why during the rest of this video. Hey, I do want to ask that you hit that red subscribe button and then also hit that bell icon because I have new videos coming out each week. So with the bell icon, you want to hit the all notifications. This way you never miss an episode in this series. Most water ionizers are countertop models that sit next to your sink. They're electronic, so of course you'll have to have an electrical outlet somewhere close to the machine. There's a water inlet hose that goes to the bottom of the ionizer, and for most people, the water source is coming from an attached faucet diverter valve at the end of your faucet. When you want water to go to the ionizer, you either pull the diverter pin out, or some diverters, there's a handle that you just rotate, and that will divert the water from the faucet to the ionizer. Also coming from the bottom of the ionizer is an acid waste hose that usually just sits in the sink basin. When you want to get water from your ionizer, all you have to do is turn on the cold water and then either pull the pin out or turn the diverter valve on the faucet diverter so that the water flows to the machine. Then the machine senses water flow and then turns itself on and starts processing water. Now, there are three basic types of countertop water ionizers. One is a direct flow-through type. What I mean is, when you send water to the machine, it simply turns itself on and water starts flowing through the ionizer. There are no buttons that you have to press on the machine to get it going, and there are no water valves directly on the machine that have to be in the open position. The water simply goes in the ionizer, gets processed, and then exits the ionizer. An example of a flow-through type would be a Jupiter Microlite, a Regency 2, or a Masterpiece. A second type of ionizer is one that has a flow valve on the front of the machine. With this type of unit, you have to make sure that the valve on the front of the ionizer is in the open position to allow water to flow through the machine. If you turn the water on and divert the water to the ionizer and the valve is in the closed position, the ionizer won't turn on until you open the water valve to allow the water to pass into the unit. These types of ionizers are great when you want to run the water directly to a cold water main under the sink and not have to use a diverter valve on the end of your faucet. This way, when you want to get water from your ionizer, you just open the valve on the front of the unit. The machine will then process water, and then you just shut the valve off when you're done. An example of a flow-through type of ionizer is my Alcaviva Vestage 2 that you see here next to me. And the last type of ionizer is one that does not have a flow-through valve on the front of the machine that you can open manually. Instead, it has an electronic solenoid valve which opens only when you press a button on the machine. So for example, a Jupiter Orion or Jupiter Aquarius has an on-off button on the face of the machine. When you send water to the ionizer from either the faucet diverter valve or from a direct attachment to a cold water main, the water will not come out of the ionizer until you press the on button on the face of the machine. And then, when you're done getting your water, you press the same button again to turn the water off. The water flow is controlled electronically directly inside the ionizer from that solenoid valve that opens or closes when you press the button. This type of ionizer cannot be put under the sink. I'll explain why in a few minutes. Now, the first two types, the flow-through type and the flow valve type, can both be put under the sink. But in order to do that, you'll need 5 things. The first thing, and most obviously, is that you'll need room under the counter for the ionizer. A water ionizer is not very big, so most people won't have a problem with that. The second thing you'll need is power. You have to make sure that you have a working outlet underneath your sink because you need somewhere to plug the ionizer into. Many people already have an electrical outlet under their sink because they have a disposal, and so there may already be a spare outlet under there for you to use to plug the ionizer into. But make sure that the outlet you want to use has constant electricity going to it, because sometimes an electrician gets lazy and ties both outlets under the sink to the disposal switch on the counter. So again, make sure that the extra outlet, if you have one, has power going to it even when the disposal switch is off. If you don't have an extra outlet under the sink, you may need to call an electrician to get one put in place for you. The third thing you'll need is a waterline T that allows you to attach the water inlet hose to your cold water main. You can usually purchase these in any hardware store, but make sure you get one that has the correct size fitting for your water inlet hose size, since every machine has different size hoses. The fourth thing you'll need is a spare utility hole on the sink on top. Most people have a soap dispenser or some other device they're not using that they can remove so that they can use that hole for the last thing you'll need to get all of this hooked up, and that's a Water Ionizer Undersink Installation Kit. A Water Ionizer Undersink Installation Kit is basically a faucet that is specifically designed to work with a water ionizer. The faucet has one handle for you to turn the water flow on, and it has two spouts. One is for the alkaline water, and one is for the acidic water that's produced by the ionizer. When you open the valve, the water will flow to your ionizer, the ionizer will turn itself on, and then you'll get two streams of water coming out of the two spouts on the faucet. One is alkaline, and one is acidic. Now let's go back to the three types of ionizers. The first one, which is a flow-through type, there's nothing special that you need to do with this machine, because as soon as the ionizer senses water flow after you open the valve on the faucet, water will pass through the ionizer and it will turn itself on when it senses water pressure, and then you'll have water coming out of the two spouts on the faucet on top. With the second type of ionizer, which is a flow valve type, what you need to do is open the valve on the ionizer and keep it in the open position. This way, when you send water to the ionizer, the valve is already open, and so it will allow the water to pass through, and it will turn itself on when it senses water flow to the machine. So you open the valve on the machine and you leave it open. But the last type of water ionizer, which is an electrically controlled solenoid valve, cannot be used in this type of setup. And that's because when you turn the handle on the faucet to allow water to flow to the ionizer, the water is going to go to the machine and will just stop there and not pass through the ionizer, because it requires someone to reach below the sink and press the on button every time you want to get water. I mean, it's not impossible, but you definitely don't want to have to keep bending down and reaching under the sink every time you want to get a glass of water, unless you're looking to rack up some pretty hefty chiropractor bills. So for the most part, you cannot, or should I say you should not, use an electrically controlled solenoid valve type of ionizer with an undersink setup. So I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, Dean, where can I get this fancy undersink installation kit that you're talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'll post a link in the description area below so you can check those faucets out. You can get the faucet kit in both polished chrome and brushed nickel. There used to be a few other colors to choose from, but now there's not. So hopefully one of those two colors will work for you. Oh, and I have to tell you, and this is important, you cannot use any type of faucet that you get from your local hardware store. It has to be a faucet that is specifically designed to work with water ionizers. And local hardware stores do not carry this type of faucet. Any drinking water faucet that you get from the store will absolutely not work with an ionizer. Plus, the undersink kit does come with parts that you'll need to hook up your ionizer, but be prepared to possibly spend a couple of bucks more on some extra adapters, because like I said before, every ionizer comes with its own hose sizes, and so you may need to get some adapters to attach different hose sizes together, but it's easy, I promise. When it's all hooked up correctly, here's what it will look like. Keep in mind, this is the same one that I have in my house, which I bought a long time ago. The new ones have a heftier and more substantial base and are nicer than the one you saw in that video. But that's how simple it is once the ionizer's under the sink. Super easy and super convenient. I'm not including any instructions on how to hook that up in this video because instructions come with the under sink kit and they're fairly straightforward. Alright guys, hopefully you got something out of this video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And let me know in the comments section if you do have your water ionizer hooked up under the sink, and let the other viewers know if you found it easy to do. If you haven't done it already, you can subscribe to the channel by clicking on this big round button right here, and you can watch other videos in the Water Ionizer Wednesday video series by clicking on either one of those right over there. Until next week, stay safe, stay healthy, and make sure to be conscious of everyone that's around you when you go out. Remember, 6 feet. See you next time.